Yeah, let me tell you that there was a situation where I have to run a marketing campaign, but as a result, I have to come across with a high cost per lead amount, and all of a sudden, which impacts our lead quality as well moving forward. So, as leader in charge, the pre-ad manager, I have to take some decision back then, almost 4 to 5 months ago, where I started working as a marketing intelligence and performance marketing head in one of the UK-based property and taxation company called Property Accountant, offering high cost per lead and low quality lead quantity. So yes, so this is the graph for user of that company. So you can holistically you can say that this is one of the marketing analytics sort of thing, which I was asked to prepare for that property and taxation company. Here in front of your screen, you can see there's a comparison between traffic coming in as an input source, as an input elements, and then measuring the user, the percentage of user or the number of user going back to the contact URL and then ending up being a most qualified lead. So on that note, if you can see from this graph, the one in bar diagram represents, the one in blue bar represents traffic, and the one in line graph represents the ratio of people going to the contact page and then ending up with MQL, being in MQL at the end. So yeah, so on the month of October and November, we defined strategy. Before that, it was going so with a different strategy. But on the month of October and November, I almost came up with a new strategy and ran the marketing campaign for acquisition and retention of the clients, right? You can see the ratio of contact to NQL there. There's a 5.03 ratio in the month of October and the month of November, 4.37, which means on average, let's say 4.5 people is, you can say the 5 people, if 5 people is going after the contact URL, only one end up being a most qualified lead. But if you go on the right hand side of this graph in the month of January, you completely what you will be shocked of looking at number 10.32, which is the ratio of contact to NQL. What does it mean that in the month of January, if 10 people were going after the contact URL and one ended up being an MQL, so which was high. The only strategy that we came up with in the month of October and November, and which differs in the month of January, was in the month of October and November, came up with the conversion bidding strategy with the amount and percent of budget will spend on acquisition, 40% of budget will spend on the remarketing campaign, because the nature of a business is such that the revenue depends solely on repetitive customer. So I came up with a strategy, and while running a prospecting campaign, we ran a search campaign for different services, and then we're running a marketing campaign with PMAX with a business fit data. The only difference is, while same strategy, there's ad slab strategy was almost the same. The only difference was audience level under the campaign section. They only converted data. So whosoever has converted previously, we just excluded that in the month of October and November. But January, we excluded whatsoever was coming to our website. Now, what it does was, January, the setup solely started targeting top of the funnel audience. You can see we were investing quite a big amount of budget. If you can see my screen from here, budget as well, quite high. Google Ad Spend, the Meta Ad Spend, the budget was quite high in the month of January, but in compared to October and November, see that strategy, amount of traffic also. And here we see a decline in traffic because 80% of budget was the motivation. The motive was to chase the only top of the funnel audience whichever is in research phase, percent of the budget. You can see here the new customer acquired was almost higher than October and November, but the quality was good in the month of October and November and bad in the month of January. Well, why I'm keeping this December apart, just because there's a seasonality effect, so it doesn't matter. You can see here that you can ask me why large number of new user and new client wasn't depreciated, or the lead quality depreciated. It was just data. October and new client closed high on the same month in compared to January. Right. Back at the CRM section, the conversion rate was quite low. Right. It's quite high in the month of October, and September. If you can, you'll definitely see the month is pretty much higher.